to our first Awkward Teenage Years of 2022. Thanks so much. Great to see you all here. If you've never seen our show before, this is, the title says it all. We tell stories about our awkward teenage years. Just stories from middle school and high school and being awkward. We started the show here at this theater just about 2 years ago, actually, during the Frigid Festival, which, if you don't know about that, it's a wonderful fringe festival that we just finished up this year, actually, and it'll be back for 2023 if you missed it. And we're doing this once a month, so thank you so much for coming. We're going to have probably a couple people coming in late, so I'm going to talk some nonsense for a few minutes while we do that. I don't know about y'all, I was very excited about Sunday. It felt like spring, right? It's like 70 degrees, I'm wearing short sleeves for the first time in forever. Of course, now it's 30 again, but whenever spring rolls around, like it always brings me back to middle school and starting to get excited about soccer tryouts. I grew up in North Carolina, so yeah, that's me. I grew up in North Carolina, so spring, March, it's already in the 70s every day. And I played soccer my entire youth, like from when I was 5 years old, like basically from when I could walk. And it was the one sport that I was actually good at. Like my dad tried to get me to play all the things, baseball and basketball, but they didn't really stick. And when I got to middle school, I dropped everything else and I kept playing soccer. But now there's tryouts. In youth soccer, you just, if your parents pay the fee, you're on the team. It's easy. Everybody gets to play at least 2 quarters. Now, I had to show that I was good at soccer. And when I got there in 7th grade, I'm playing with kids who were 2 years older than me all of a sudden. And it was a little difficult. For the first time, I wasn't one of the best players on the team. Didn't get to play the whole game. And so I was a little blow to my ego. I was also very small in 7th grade, so I'm getting pushed around a lot by the bigger kids. When I came back for 8th grade, this is my 8th grade year here, I had a little growth spurt, feeling confident. And when we got to the tryouts, there was a new coach. The longtime coach had retired. Now we had this British guy who was like a local university student. And so it was like a fresh start for me to try to show him what I could do. So I'm trying extra hard. I'm running a lot faster than before, like making sure every single pass is on point, trying to bury every one of my shots in the corner. And I think I did a great job at our 2-day tryout. And then the big day comes when they post the list of the team in the gym. And I go to check the list in the morning, feeling like I definitely made the team. I made it last year. I'm going to make it this year. And I start running through the names, and I see all of my friends there, and I don't see my name anywhere. And this has got to be a mistake, right? Maybe I'm looking at the wrong list. I don't know, but it's just my name's not there. Everybody's crowded around looking and celebrating if they made the team, and I didn't make the team. And I see though that there's this kid, Derek, who has made the team. And Derek, he's just one of those guys who's got 2 left feet. He's completely uncoordinated. He's a really nice guy, but just he's not a soccer player. And Derek has made the team. I just cannot believe it. And I see Derek in math class later that day, and everybody's I'm congratulating him too, and then it hits me. Derek and I look exactly the same. We're both like skinny. We have this long brown hair. We have the same complexion. And this coach has made a point of already telling us that he's not going to learn our names. He just wants to know who the best players are. And I think he must have mistaken me and Derek. And so I resolved, I'm going to go and tell him, after school. I'm just going to walk up and tell him what I think happened. And so I start walking after school to the field as the other kids are coming over and putting on their cleats. And the best player on the team is this kid named Tavi. He's a year older than me. He's not a big fan of mine because, it's stupid middle school bullshit. Like, a girl that he liked me instead, and then nothing happened, for anybody out of it. But he's still holding a grudge against me. And Tommy catches me on the way over to the field, and he's like, "I heard you're going to talk to the coach." I'm like, "Well, yeah. Clearly, mixed up me and Derek." And he's like, "You talk to the coach and try to get yourself on the team. I'm going to kick your ass." I've been bullied a lot. in middle school, okay, but never by a soccer player. Tommy's got the same build as me. He's actually a little shorter. Like, he's not going to kick my ass, you know? Like, I don't think he can. But I brush right past him and figure, like, if he's going to, catch me with his friends later, fine. But all I have in my extracurricular life is soccer right now, so I got to do it anyway. And I go up to the coach, and just as I'm about to tell him, I decide that I'm not gonna like throw Derek under the bus, because he's a good kid, and like he's so happy that he made the team. Like I try not to use his name at all, or like imply even that he made a mistake. I feel like I played on the team last year, coach. I did really well in the tryout. I don't know if maybe there was some confusion, but like I really think that I should have made the team. I'm confused. Can you tell me what happened? I can just see it on his face. Like, he definitely thought that Derek was me. And he knows he's made this mistake, and he's embarrassed now, but like Derek's over there like laughing and putting his cleats on, ready to play. And so he's like, all right, well, I guess you can just stay today, and we'll see how it goes, And so I stay. I have the practice of my life. Tommy's trying to slide tackle me the whole time, but I managed to not get injured somehow, and Derek falls down a bunch of times. And eventually, at the end of the practice, coach comes over and says, well, maybe you come back tomorrow too. And maybe play on the team, And I felt pretty good about that, because like he also didn't kick Derek off the team, which I was a little bit afraid he would do, and I got to, I ended up becoming a starter on the team, and Derek barely played, and Tommy never kicked my ass either. Turns out that if I could provide him assists for him to score, then we could be friends again, regardless of our previous grudge. So it all really worked out in the end. So that's my little soccer story. And nobody even came late, so I don't know. Okay, well, are you all ready for your first storyteller? We have 5 amazing storytellers for you tonight. So I didn't even introduce myself. My name is Will Clegg. Most of you I don't recognize, so nice to meet you. Grant and I started this show, when I was talking about it, Frigid, a couple of years ago. And yeah, so all right, let's get into it. Your first storyteller coming to the stage tonight is a very special storyteller. She is a host of the Moth Story Slams and Main Stage events. She was the host of NPR's Ask Me Another for many years, and she has a stand-up comedy album coming out very soon, April 22nd, called Plant-Based Jokes, which we're all excited for. Please welcome to the stage Ophira Eisenberg.
Hello, everybody. I grew up in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And most of my teenage years, I just fantasized about getting out of Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I knew there was more out there for me, and I just wanted to find where I belonged, and I wanted to go on adventures and expand my horizons. But I was really afraid to do it alone. And in the beginning of grade 12, someone told me to watch this movie that they loved. It was an older movie called Dogs in Space. It starred a young Michael Hutchins from In Excess, and it took place in Melbourne, and it was about a bunch of punk rockers who all lived together in a communal house, and they were all on the search for the true meaning of anarchy. And I loved every frame of this movie, every frame. I loved the style, I loved the rebelliousness, I loved the music, and I wanted to find other like-minded people like me and live together in some sort of crazy setting, and we could all rebel and retaliate against capitalism and conformity and the man. And I thought having these thoughts were unique. I didn't want to go alone, though, so I thought I should travel to Australia after high school, and I should do it with my high school boyfriend, Doug. And my high school boyfriend was named Doug, and I actually told this idea to Doug. I said, hey, when we finish grade 12, let's go for a year to Australia. And he said, okay. Doug was every high school parent's nightmare of a boyfriend. He introduced himself as Doug, as in grave. He, all of his t-shirts were white t-shirts that he had taken a Sharpie to and made, like skulls that said, "Eat the rich," and a picture of a draft beer that said, "Drink, fuck, die." You know, that was his style. He was, self-teaching himself how to play electric guitar, all the markings of everything everyone hated as a parent. And he was kind of nasty, to be quite honest. Nobody really liked Doug, which is what I really liked, because I was so hooked on approval and everyone thinking that I was okay that I found it refreshing to be with Doug. And so that year, last year of high school, we have this plan. We are going to go to Australia and we're going to meet other nonconformists like us. And we get a bunch of jobs because we have to save up our own money to make this trip happen. And we buy tickets and we buy backpacks and we are talking about itineraries. But Doug's aggressive aesthetic went a little deeper than his self-made t-shirts. One of them that stuck out was, we would get in these teenage dramatic fights all the time. I don't even know about what, because what did we have? We didn't share anything. We didn't share money or housing or children. Like, what the fuck were we fighting about? But we would get in these little tiffs, and we were on our way to a friend's house. He was driving, we were in his car, and we got in some dramatic teenage tiff, and he locked the doors and started driving super fast, not saying a word. And I was like, "What's going on? What's going on?" He was like, "Shut up, shut up, shut up." And he drove us out of town and then stopped and said, "Get out." And I did. And then he slammed the door and drove away. And I was just alone on the highway. And I had no idea what to do. Well, about 20 minutes later, he came back for me. And I got in the car, and we went over to our friend's house. Didn't talk about it. But that night, I had a dream that the exact same thing happened, but he drove us to Ayers Rock in Australia and then kicked me out, and I was just wandering around like the middle of Australia, not knowing how or where to go, and I started running, and as I was running, dingoes were chomping at my feet. And I woke up and thought, I gotta break up with this guy. Like, I can't go to the Southern Hemisphere with him. I was really afraid of breaking up with him, and a couple nights later, he invited me over to his place, picked me up, we drove out to his house, and by house I mean, he lived in a mobile home on a farm about 10 miles out of town. And we're hanging out, and he picks out he's like, "Oh, I bought a new travel book, we should read it." And I just felt like I couldn't do this. And I was trying to find soft words to say to him, but I was like, I was thinking, and he's like, what? I was like, well, I was just thinking, and he's like, what are you talking about? I just went, we gotta break up! And I just watched his body fill with liquid rage, and then it exploded out of him with angry tears. And he started walking up and down the room, just going like, no, we are not breaking up. We are not breaking up. We're staying together whether you like it or not. And I was like, I don't think that sounds right at all. And then he grabbed a piece of paper and he thrust it at me with a pen and said, what's so wrong with me? Write down all the things that are wrong with me. And I was like, okay. I was always just following rules, and I was about to write like, you're yelling. And he went into the other room to grab a Kleenex to blow his nose, and I thought, I gotta get out of here, but I didn't have a car or a plan, so I just ran. I just left the mobile home with the screen door just flapping behind me, and I started running up the dirt road that led to the highway. And then there I was on the highway again, and it was night, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm in a pair of white capri pants and jelly shoes, looking around, and this was before cell phones. So I remembered that there was a payphone maybe about half a mile away outside of the old drive-in that was now closed. And I thought, I'll go there and I'll call someone. And I was running down to the payphone, and I got there, and I fished through my purse, and I found a quarter. This was my one call. And I thought, who do I call? And no way my parents. I wanted to stay alive. And I thought, I'll call my friend Zach. My friend Zach was one of these people who was always up for anything, probably because he just was so high all the time. But I thought, he's the perfect person. So I called him, I put the coin in, and I called him, and he picked up, and I was like, hey, Zach! I said it like you just won a prize. Hey, Zach, it's Ophira! And he was like, what's going on? I was like, hey, something weird happened with Doug. Can you come pick me up? And he was like, yeah, sure, where are you? And I tried to run through this very quickly and casually. I was like, I'm about 7 miles out of town near the old drive-in theater. That 7-Eleven that's right next to it in a mini mall? Why don't I meet you there? And he was like, and I was like, it'll probably take you 25 minutes. See you later, click. And I assumed he was coming. So I started walking slowly towards that 7-Eleven. It was really, that 7-Eleven was right beside a trailer park. And I saw there was someone walking up their dog ahead, so I kind of hung back. But then that person turned around, and I saw it wasn't someone walking their dog. It was Doug. It was Doug, and he was out there looking for me. And he saw me, and I saw him, and he just started running towards me, yelling, Ophira! Like a Shakespearean villain. And I just looked around, and I took off. And he started running after me, and I heard him go, what's so wrong with me? And I wanted to yell, well, you're chasing me. But I thought I should save my breath. And the adrenaline through my body, it just made me run so fast. I had never had these kinds of superhero powers before. I was running faster than any track meet I'd been in. I remember vaulting over a fence and jeting over ravines, somersaulting over a hedge, thinking I gotta get out. This guy, I can't even believe he's chasing me. And I kept hearing his footprints behind me as he was plodding through some of the wet grass. And just as I recognized the dumpsters that were in the back of the 7-Eleven, and I came around into the parking lot just as Zach pulled in. Perfect timing, movie timing. And Zach got out of the car, and he was watching me running, but it's like he didn't even compute it. And he was like, hey, Ophira, what's going on? And I'm barreling towards him, just yelling, get in the car, start the car, get in the car, start the car. And so he gets in, and I slide into the passenger seat, slam the door, and we roll out of there just as Doug hits the parking lot. And I'm looking behind me, and Zach's like, what the hell is going on? And I'm like, me and Doug just broke up, isn't it obvious? And he was like, I guess so. So I begged him to take me back to his house. I was like, you can't stay at my house. My mother's gonna be pissed. Doug's gonna go there and try to find me. So can I stay at your house tonight? And he was like, yeah, sure. Yeah, you come stay at my place. So, 25 minutes later, I'm in Zach's place. We're making out. I move on fast. And I say to him, you should come with me to Australia. You should come with me to Australia. This makes perfect sense. This is what it's supposed to be. And he was like, Ophira, what are you talking about? Don't you know? I'm traveling tomorrow to Europe. I'm going for a year to Europe. And he points to his backpack across the room that is packed with the Canada flag sewn on it. And I think, oh yeah, people have their own lives. And I say to him, well, you can still change your itinerary. And he's like, no, I'm gonna do my thing. And he goes, and you're gonna do yours. And he falls asleep pretty quickly, but I wasn't able to sleep. And I just kept thinking, I'm not gonna do mine. My whole trip is ruined. It's over. That's it for my trip. And then I was thinking, you know what though? I just worked these jobs over the whole last year of high school and put together all the itineraries, and I'm a smart, independent, 17-year-old woman. I'm gonna go on this trip, and I'm gonna go on it alone. Thank you.
Love teenage breakup stories. One time, I think I was 13. I'm staying at my buddy Patrick's house, and I'm spending the night over there. His mom is off on a date or something. I don't know. It was just us there, and his girlfriend broke up with him over the phone, and he kicked me out of his house. I guess because he's like, he's probably crying. He's embarrassed and sad. And, but I didn't have anywhere to go. I'm 13, very far from home. I don't have a cell phone. I can't even go in his house and call my parents and tell them to come pick me up. He's left me outside of his house for like 4 hours while he was, very upset. He eventually let me back in. But like teenage breakups are just always the best. So thank you for that, Ophira. Ophira has to run. Let's say goodbye to Ophira one more time. All right, so let's keep this show moving right along. Your next storyteller is one of the co-producers, co-founders of this show. He is also the author and the performer of A Public-Private Prayer, which was just in the Frisian Festival this past few weeks, and you've seen him at the Moth and Nights of Our Lives, the Magnet Theater, and he's my good buddy. Please welcome to the stage Grant Bowen.
You're my good buddy too. You're my good tall buddy. So originally we had someone else lined up who had to drop out, and so I agreed to step in. And I thought about the fact that this is our first time doing this show in this space since the first time we did it back in 2020. So I thought, what better way to rechristen the show than to go back to one of the stories that started the whole thing. So here we go. If there's one thing I'm certain I inherited from my father, it was his taste in music. Growing up, my dad wanted to show my brothers and I his favorite bands from the 60s and 70s. So he went out, he would buy all their greatest hits albums, and then our car rides with Dad would basically turn into our classic rock education. And that's how the music my dad grew up listening to became the music I grew up listening to. And I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I loved it so much that I became a snob about current music. Like I was the kid walking around going, oh, they don't write it like they used to. And adults would look at me and be like, how old are you? But I was being introduced to all of these great bands. There was Led Zeppelin, AC/DC, Skynyrd. Of course, my favorite was the Beatles, but you can't just say that. Of course, it's the Beatles. That doesn't really tell you enough about who a person is. That's like when a Christian tells you their favorite book is the Bible. You're like, yeah, I get it, but what do you really like? So my other absolute favorite band of all time was Queen. I love Queen. To me, Queen is still the pinnacle of a great rock band. You've got Freddie Mercury, one of the greatest singers of all time. You've got Brian May on guitar, Roger Taylor on drums. No two songs sound the same, and yet they all have that same epic stadium rock kind of feel. Very few soft ballads from Queen. And we had a Queen song for just about every occasion. We'd go to football games and they would always be blasting "We Will Rock You" and "We Are the Champions." My brothers and I, if we're together and someone turns on Bohemian Rhapsody, we turn that shit into performance art. We're bouncing off the walls, we're flailing limbs, banging our heads. We make the scene from Wayne's World look tame. And here's the embarrassing scenario. All this time, it's still embarrassing. Whenever I was lonely in high school, I would go out to my car and listen to Somebody to Love. Somebody to Love. A song about a guy who's depressed. He works hard every day of his life, and then he goes home, goes down on his knees, and begs God to send him somebody to love. I was an emo kid in denial. I might as well have been walking around with chains on my pants and fingerless gloves. But by my junior year of high school, I was feeling lonely a lot. I didn't have a huge circle of friends, and some of the ones I did have, I wouldn't have considered that close. And by that point, I had only had one serious relationship with a girlfriend. And that basically blew up in my face because the emotions of falling in love for the first time were so intense that I started to act like an unstable psycho. I love you so much, we should get married. So that didn't work out. And so it was just a lot of afternoons of going out to the car, turning on the CD player, and just, can anybody find me somebody to love? Another sign that I was a lonely kid, my best friend went to a different school. This was my buddy Trent. We met doing community theater. One afternoon after school, I get in my car, I drive to the next town over to his school. I get out, he's showing me around, he's introducing me to all of his friends. And that's when I'm introduced to Amber. Amber had this stunning strawberry blonde hair, these beautiful blue eyes, this really sweet smile, and she was a senior, practically a woman. But where she and I really clicked was that we could talk to each other. Like we could just talk and talk for hours on end about anything. And I realized I'd never get nervous around her. I never felt like I had to puff myself up. Like I felt calm. Like I didn't really know this at the time, but this is the first time I really knew what it was like to be myself. So, much to my own surprise, one day I asked for her number, and she gave it to me. And not long after that, I asked her out, and she said yes. And I thought, what the fuck am I doing? Like, this girl is way out of my league. She's this beautiful, stunning ginger goddess, and I'm a hobbit. Like, what are we gonna do, Mr. Frodo? So, the night of the date comes, I go to her house, pick her up. I take her to Ruby Tuesdays because there's only chain restaurants in my hometown. It's romantic because there's waiters. But we sit down, start eating, and we just start talking again. And we fall into our same pattern. And I'm not scared, and I'm not trying to be something I'm not. I'm confident. And so we get to the end of the date, I drive her home, I walk her to the front door. I don't go in for a kiss because I'm a gentleman and a virgin, but I tell her, like, listen, I had a really good time tonight, and I think we should do this again sometime. And she's like, yeah, we should. And so we say goodnight, she goes inside, I'm walking back to my car, and I am pumped. I am high on life. I cannot believe how well this went. And so I get into the car, I turn on the CD player, Queen is already in there. So Somebody to Love immediately starts playing. And I remember hearing this and thinking to myself, you know what? Screw this, not tonight. I start flipping through the tracks, trying to find anything else to listen to. And eventually I stop and land on, tonight I'm gonna have myself a real good time. It was Don't Stop Me Now, a song about a guy who's gonna go out and have fun, and that's about it for 3 verses. At the time, I wouldn't have considered it a top-tier Queen song, but in that moment, nothing felt more right. So I am driving off and I am jamming out to Don't Stop Me Now. I'm having such a good time. I'm having a ball. I look up, I'm about to drive into a ditch. I swerve just in time to miss it. I look at it through the window. I cackle like a maniac, and then I drive off into the night. This date with Amber went so well that I thought, well, surely I'm gonna get a second date, right? And so I call her up and we start talking, and she says, Grant, look, I think you're a really good guy, but I'm about to be going to college, and you're still in high school. And under those circumstances, I just don't see this working out. And I felt fine. I felt okay. I knew she was just being honest. I was just happy that I knew that I was able to ask somebody out, and we could go out and have fun, and nobody had to fall in love. I didn't feel lonely because of that anymore. So from that point on, whenever I felt like going out to the car and listening to Somebody to Love, I knew I could just switch the tracks over to Don't Stop Me Now and pick myself right back up. Thank you.
All right, one more time for Grant, everybody. I love that story. It makes me want to just do the whole original show again right now. I'm not going to. No, we've got more storytellers for you. I want to bring up our next storyteller now. She is the vice president of the International Center for Women Playwrights. She is the recent recipient of the Latinx Playwright Circle's Greater Good Commission. Did I sound that right? Yes, wrote it down correctly. And then, very importantly, this is her debut telling a story at a live show like this. So we're super excited about that. Yeah. So please give it up for Tavi Juárez.
Hello. 1 second, please. Hello. Hi. Oh my gosh. I am so tickled and honored to be here with you guys tonight. I'm going to share a story from my awkward teenage years. All right, so let's just jump right in, shall we? It is 2001. I am 14 years old, and I'm at my very first boy-girl pool party, okay? It's in Adamsville, Alabama, a very small rural town. It's my friend Katie McKinney's birthday party, and all of the middle school elite are there, and they're all in their bathing suits. This is a big deal, y'all. So spatially speaking, my feet are about right here. I am standing on Katie McKinney's trampoline, and I am wearing a tie-dye blue bikini. And over that, I have on a big white NASCAR t-shirt that I borrowed from Katie's brother, Joel. And I am struggling. I am struggling to stand up. I am struggling to stay vertical. See, it's really hot and it's really slippery on Katie's trampoline underneath this Alabama summer sun. And I can't seem to see anything except for this bright green color. It's the color of the boxing gloves that I'm holding so tightly to my forehead like this. And I'm feeling the weight of the reputation that I'm about to lose with every single flop, flop, flop of Michaela Parker's blue boxing gloves beating the ever-loving crap out of my head and my shoulders and my arms. Okay, this is bad. I am getting my shit absolutely rocked, and I can't stay on this bouncy trampoline, okay? And she's hitting me. And in this moment, I'm panicking, okay? I'm frozen. I can't do anything. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be doing this. I don't want to be fighting Michaela Parker. Oh my gosh. This is a level of embarrassment for me that's worse than the time that my dad got drunk at the 98 Degrees concert a couple of years ago. This is bad. I am losing a fight to Michaela Parker, the biggest crybaby in our grade, okay? To be fair, Michaela Parker and I were never really destined to be the best of friends. We didn't really have that much in common. She lived across the street from me. I knew her parents. They bred Chihuahuas. We were on the same softball team, the Adamsville Firecrackers. We went to the same summer church camp together. Like, I know Michaela. And you gotta know that at this time, okay, so y'all, for those who can't see me in person, I am 5'1.5". Back then, I would have been much smaller. And I spent most of my childhood talking about how my dad is a boxer and how I come from a long line of boxers. Just talking big about boxing. Because it's true, I do. My dad is a boxer. I spent so many years of my life riding my little Barbie tricycle around my dad's gym. I went to boxing matches with my dad. And prior to this birthday party, I had put on boxing gloves before. But I didn't want to punch Michaela Parker. But she is rocking my shit right now. And so all I'm doing is I'm frozen. I'm still right here. And she moves from my shoulders down to my wrists, down to my abs and my stomach. And she is just wailing, getting out, like a lot of energy. And it gets worse. The crowd starts shouting her name. My friends start shouting her name. This is bad. And I'm frozen. I mean, clearly she's winning. I'm not throwing any punches here. And she is just letting me have it. And when I think that she's like run out of steam, she's got to be finishing up here soon, she's finding a second win. I mean, she is going for it. So I don't know, bless my heart. I don't know how long this lasts, but I kept my fists up. I kept my fists up right here. Now, could it have been vanity? Absolutely. I did pageants. Your girl was not going to get bruises on her face. Okay? And I was sitting like this. Could it have been genetics? Probably not. Could it have been my ancestors just whispering in my ears, keep your fists up, Tavi, keep your fists up, Tavi? I don't know. Probably not. But all I can hear right now is the sound of the middle school elite cheering her on. And I can see her too behind my little green gloves. I don't know if she can see me, but I can see her and I see the death that's in her eyes. And there's this moment, and I catch it, when her anger, it turns to surprise and excitement when she recognizes the sound of her name being called. Michaela! And I can tell she's tired. I mean, she's clearly exhausted, and honestly, so am I. Michaela! And she's looking at me. This wave of relief just like passes over her. Like, she's ready for this to be over. She's ready to claim her win and move on. And honestly, so am I. Michaela! She whips her head around to look at her friends. And I punch her hard right in the nose. Michaela immediately starts blubbering. Just tears fill her eyes, stream down her face. She falls onto the floor of the trampoline. She's curled up in a ball, covered in blood somehow. It's like her nose has exploded on her face. And the middle school elite run over her and they take her away to die of shame and attention. I mean, no, really, she was okay. I don't think I even like broke her nose or anything, because I definitely did not get in trouble for any of this. And looking back on all this, I suspect that this was set up by our friend Leo, who had gifted the boxing gloves to Katie, and who probably just wanted to see a bunch of girls fight in their bikinis. But that's neither here nor there, because Michaela and I both put on these boxing gloves together. Like, we got ourselves into that trampoline on our own, partly out of peer pressure, partly out of people-pleasing, partly out of competition. We were pinned against each other for our friends' entertainment. Thank you.
Wow, debut story. I hope that's not the last one. That was great. Yeah, we were rehearsing the other night, and after Tavi tells her story, I was like, yeah, I love a story about a first fight. And she's like, that's not my first fight. Okay, all right. I should have known. I mean, waiting, patiently like Floyd Mayweather for your shot, and then just taking one punch to take her out. It's amazing. One more time for Tavi. All right, we're to our fourth storyteller of the evening. This next guy is his first time on Awkward Teenage Years, and he's a visual storyteller. He's working on his first film right now, and he's also a Moth Story Slam winner. Please give it up, everybody, for Dave Kalema.
In the spring of 2004, I'm 11, and I'm sitting in the passenger seat being driven to basketball practice by my dad. And my dad is the classic, unexpressive, unemotional African father. And we get to this light in DC, and he has both hands on the steering wheel, and he's looking out into the intersection, and he says, okay, today is your last day, and you're going to tell the coach you're not coming back. And I'm nervous and I'm anxious, but I had my speech ready. I knew this was coming for weeks. So I'm trying to speak from my chest, and I I remember all the words, and just when I go to speak, all the words leave me. And I'm looking down at my feet, at the basketball between my legs, and I'm wringing my hands together, and I close my eyes, and I say, I've been to Uganda a million times, can I just do something different? And I open my eyes, and I'm looking at him, and he's stone cold, looking out in the intersection without missing a beat, and he says, okay, I'll tell the coach, you're not coming back, you're not staying. And I'm crushed, because I had just made this AAU basketball team with some of my friends. We got these new exclusive Nikes. Okay, these shoes were so new that the only place I had seen them was on the feet of Kobe Bryant on TV. And I went to school and I was wearing them in PE and making everybody jealous. And I was telling my teachers that I'm going to Vegas and Orlando and Atlanta this summer, and I'm gonna play in tournaments all across the country with my friends. But see, my mom, she's the first of 9 siblings. My dad is one of 18. I got 27 first cousins on my mom's side alone. And my parents got married in 1990 in Uganda. They moved to DC, and they would bring us back every summer. And on the first day of school every year, the teacher would go around the class and they would say, tell us about your summer. What'd you do this summer? Any new stories from your summer? And they'd get to me and they'd say, Dave, how was Uganda again? and this year, I just wanted a different story. But I kept looking at my feet. I went to my last practice and I went to Uganda. And it was like that every summer. And I'm 15 now. I just finished my sophomore year of high school. It's 2008. And my mom gets diagnosed with cancer. So there's no Uganda trip so she can get treatment. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, maybe this is the summer I get to stay with my friends and play basketball. But I just had surgery on my knee. I cracked my tibia in 2 places. So that summer I started with screws in my knee, this slight limp, and no money for physical therapy. And I'm too anxious. I can't tell my parents. I don't know how to tell them that my knee isn't healing the right way because I don't want to take any attention away from mom. And I know how they feel about my summers. So I just bottle those feelings up. I don't express it. And in my head, I'm dealing with these new thoughts. Like, is my knee gonna heal? You know, will I play sports again? Will I have that community? Is my mom gonna die? What's gonna happen to my mom? And I don't know how to express any of it. So I bottle these feelings up and I make this silent plan. And I'm gonna rehab my knee myself. It can't be that hard. So one day I wake up at 6 a.m., I go to the computer, how to rehab a surgically repaired knee. And I find these exercises and nobody's awake and I'm on the floor in my living room doing these exercises. And then I go out for a jog and I stick to that religiously every day. And that jog turns into a run and I'm back in the house by 6:30 every day and I keep doing this. And one day my mom comes and she opens the door before the end of my run and she says, hey, I made breakfast, eat with me. I say, okay. And she becomes part of the routine. I'm up at 6, I'm doing these exercises, I'm going for a run. I had breakfast with my mom. And we kept doing this and she's sick, but she shows up and she's trying. And halfway through the summer, same routine, I kill the run, I come back, and my mom's not there. And my dad had taken my mom to the hospital the day before, but they kept her overnight. Usually she'll do chemo, she'll come back the same day, they kept her overnight. And I'm looking at my dad, he's walking around the house, he's not saying anything. Classic. And he says, get in the car, and we go to the airport. And my grandma gets off this flight. She took 16 hours from Uganda to DC. And then my aunt comes later that day, she flies in from Texas, and the air is thick. And nobody's saying anything, and everybody's dancing around their words, and I'm looking at my dad, and I just want to yell from my chest at my dad, like, what the fuck is going on? Say something, but it's classic fashion, he's just buttoned up. And my grandma and my aunt go to the hospital. They don't let me and my brothers go to the hospital. My dad's not saying anything. And I just bottle those emotions and I don't know how to express myself and I just keep it to myself. But I keep doing my routine, I keep running. And the end of the week comes and my dad says, okay, it's time to go to the hospital, it's time to go see mom. And I get in that car and my dad is driving, I'm in the passenger seat again, and I'm looking at my feet the whole time, nervous. I don't know what the hell I'm about to walk into. And we arrive at GW Hospital in DC, take the elevator up to the ICU, and we go to this back room in the ICU. And I remember walking through the frame, and I know the person I'm looking at, I know that's my mom, but I can't recognize her. Her hair is gone, the color is all flushed out from her face. She's wearing these ugly hospital socks that are not even hugging her feet. She's sitting upright in this chair. And when we lock eyes, tears start to fall down her face. And I'm walking towards her, and I put my hands out, and I can tell she's fragile. She's shaking, her body is shaking. And I put my arms around her, trying to give as much love as I can while being gentle. And our faces are touching, and the tears from her eyes are rolling down on my face. And she can't lift her arms, and she's hyperventilating through these tears, breathing these heavy sighs. And she's trying to say something, but she can't find the words. Her body is spent. She just got out of this 13-hour surgery fighting for her life. And I'm holding her, and I'm 15. I don't know what it's like to come face to face with the fact that I may die. But I know what it's like to struggle to find the words. And I'm hugging her, and I say, Mom, it's okay. It's okay. And when I say that, she clutches my shirt with her fingertips. And she's breathing through these tears. And there's tears between our faces. And she musters just enough strength to say above a whisper, did you run today? How's your knee? I know you're working on your knee. Tell me your knee's okay. And I'm holding her, and she gave me this recognition that my silent struggle and the things that I was fighting for within myself, they had a place in the world. They mattered, even if I didn't know how to express it. And that recognition gave me this comfort, and I kept that with me. And my mom leaves the hospital eventually, but it takes her weeks to get back on her feet. She's not always at breakfast, but I keep running. And by the end of the summer, I get my knee back to 95%. And right before the school year starts, we go out to this Indian restaurant, and we're sitting there. It's one of the few outings we had this summer. And my mom stands up, and she raises her glass, and she says, I'm in remission. And we clap so loud. This was like our win, you know? We clap so loud. And all these white people are looking at us like, what is this Ukrainian family? Is it safe? So what's going on? And we just clap, because like that was our win that summer. And I'm looking around the table, and I see me and my mom lock eyes. And it's not the biggest smile she ever gave me, but it's a smile. And she doesn't wink, but it felt like that. Like, I see you, I know. And that smile gave me this joy that no amount of new Kobe's ever would have given me. You know, I felt something that I never felt that I wanted, that even maybe a summer with my friends would have given me. And I take this mental snapshot, and I take that with me back to school. I keep that comfort. And it's the first week of school, and I'm a junior, and I see my friend Sage, and she says, hey man, how was Uganda? I didn't have social media, so we're catching up. And I say, man, actually we didn't go. And he did, what? No way, man. And what'd you do? And I'm telling him, we didn't do anything. And I'm like, Sai, do I give him an explanation? Do I use his words? And he's like, man, how was it? And I'm thinking, and I say, you know, actually, we had everything we needed. And it was the best summer of my life. Thank you.
One more time for Dave, everybody. It's a great story. Thanks for sharing that. All right, we're at our last storyteller of the evening, but before I bring him up, I just want to tell you a little bit more about our show. We actually encourage our audience, if you're out there and you have a story about your awkward teenage years, just like Tavi, tell us about it. You can email us at awkwardteenageyears@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. And if you want to work on your story and come and perform it with us one day, we'd love to have you do it. We do this every month. This is our new home here at the Under St. Mark's Theater. Our next show is going to be Thursday, April 7th at 7 p.m. We're trying to do the first Thursday of every month. That doesn't always happen, but next month's going to happen. And you can follow us on the social media. We're on all the things. We're on Facebook and Twitter at Awkward Teenage Years. Facebook and Instagram at Awkward Teenage Years. Our Twitter, it's too long for Twitter, so we have a very awkward name there. It's Awk Teen Years. But we don't tweet much, so you don't have to follow us there. More on Instagram.
Bad at it.
Yes. And if you'd like to see our previous shows, so we did this show here that we've mentioned, 1,000 times tonight in 2020. But we also we did virtual shows throughout the course of the pandemic, and I think we did 14 of them. Those are all on our YouTube channel, and then our live shows that we did at the Crane Theater in 2021, also there. So just search for Awkward Teenage Years on YouTube, and you'll find us there. And I think, did I get it all? I think that's everything.
You got it.
Yeah, that's it. All right, so let's bring up your last storyteller. He is originally from India, where he learned the art of storytelling from his grandfather. And he's been on the Moth main stage and also a Moth Story Slam winner. And he told the best story about pickles that I've ever heard in my life. I'm really excited to bring to the stage Harjas Singh.
When I was 13 years old, the only goal I had in my life was to read every single Wikipedia page ever. At the time, that was 2.5 million articles, and I didn't know. So this kid had a rude awakening waiting for him in the future. But that's a story for another time. What I want to say is that I was obsessed with learning. And growing up in India for the first 18 years of my life and going to school there, I studied a lot of the same subjects that you might have studied. Maths, physics, chemistry, geography, history. But there was one thing that we studied that might not be so common, or maybe I'm just not aware of, but we used to call it general knowledge, or GK. And GK was basically stuff that you're supposed to know of the world. It was like a catch-all of whatever you didn't study in all of the other subjects. For example, monuments of the world, inventors and their inventions. And a combination of GK and my Wikipedia mania almost is what landed me on the school's quiz team, because that's just the kind of nerd I was when I was in school. So being on the quiz team, when you usually go for quizzes, it's in, the reason why, because of GK, is why I know a bunch of stupid random facts, like, the capital of Australia is not Sydney, not Melbourne, but this place that you may or may not have heard called Canberra. Or that the Nobel Peace Prize was named after Alfred Nobel, which you may or may not know was the inventor of dynamite. And the irony was not lost on him either. So when you're on the school quiz team, usually you go you go in pairs. So I was paired with this kid in school. His name was CB Rex. We just called him Rex. And Rex and I had this great synergy. A lot of the things that he focused on were history, geography, current events. I was really good with media, arts, and film. Both of us sucked at questions about mythology. And the first quiz that we ever attended was this thing called the Maggie quiz. And Maggie, if you don't know, is Indian ramen. If you can get your hands on this thing, it's incredible, it's tasty. Why Maggie was hosting a quiz for children, I don't know, but we show up. We show up at this school, not my school, but a different school after the school day is over, and there's 16 other teams here, all in pairs of 2. And it's like being in a gym, but with people flexing their brains. So there's like teams in one corner, there's these 2 kids who have the Encyclopedia Britannica out, they're trying to memorize the whole thing. There's another kid who has the World Almanac, and they're trying to one-up each other by asking a bunch of different questions, like, how many actors have played James Bond so far? The answer is 7, 8 if you consider the unofficial Bond movie. And Rex and I are looking at these kids and we're thinking, we are screwed. These guys have done a lot of prep, we haven't done jack shit, this is not going to be a good time for us. And the quiz starts after that. There's this mustachioed, pot-bellied man at the front of the room, and he's supposed to rattle out 20 questions. We're supposed to write them down on a piece of paper. And the quizmaster starts to read out these questions. Rex and I are like, nope, don't know that one. Nope, don't know that one. Nope, don't know that one. Yeah, got one. Nope, don't know the next one. Nope, don't know the next one. And we're just filled with dread. We're like, we are gonna embarrass our school with this whole situation. And after question 9, we realized we're so deep in trouble that we just started laughing after every question that the quizmaster asked. And these kids were flexing earlier. They start looking at us super weird. They're like, who are these people? At the end of the 20 questions, Rex and I, we're so done with this whole situation. We're like, let's just go back to school. This was not a good time. We're ready to go. And the quizmaster's grading the papers, and he's about to announce who the winner is. And he says, the winner of the Maggie quiz are CV Rex and Harjas Singh. And Rex and I, we just burst out laughing because that is not what we expected. And we realized that we weren't great at quizzing. Everybody else was just way worse. But what happened after that quiz was that essentially lit an even bigger fire under our butts, that we don't want to be in another position where we don't know anything. So that basically led us to reading Wikipedia even more. And we actually got pretty good. We started to get really, really good. And typically the way these quizzes works is there's like a prelims where you read out a bunch of the teams, and then 6 teams make it up on stage. And this is usually in front of an audience and whatnot. And so we became so good that we would always clear the prelims, we would make it to the top 6 teams on the stage, and we would almost always end up in the top 3. So we end up at one of these quizzes again. This time the name of the quiz is the Horlicks Whiz Kids Quiz. And Horlicks, if you don't know, is an Indian children's milk powder brand. Why they're doing a quiz, I don't know, but we show up again. We make it through the prelims, we get up on stage, and the stage has this relatively standard setup. So it's 3 teams on either end of the stage, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And Rex and I are team 5, and the sound system on stage is actually facing the other way. So there's 1 speaker here, 1 speaker there, and there's an audience of 500 in front of us. And we're doing pretty well in the quiz, but because of the way the speakers are set up, we're basically in the dead zone of sound. We can't really hear what's going on. It's almost hard to even follow the quizmaster. But overall, we're doing pretty well. We think we're pretty close to victory. And getting close towards one of our last questions, the quizmaster comes up to us and he asks us a question. He says, what famous cartoon character was named after this song? And he starts to play the song, and Frank Sinatra's Strangers in the Night starts to play. But I know that now, but at the time, I didn't know who Frank Sinatra was, I didn't know what Strangers in the Night was, and I sure as hell couldn't hear a single word that was being played out of those speakers. So Rex and I are sitting there trying to listen, and music is supposed to be my department, and I can't hear anything, so I turn to Rex and I'm like, Rex, do you have any guesses? And Rex is trying to pay very close attention to the music, and he's like, I'm thinking. I'm like, let's just take a guess. I have no idea what this is. And Rex says, and I'm like, Rex, what do you think it might be? And Rex says, it's either Scooby-Doo or Tintin. But what I hear is it's either Scooby-Doo or Dildo. And I turn to Rex and I'm like, Rex, what the fuck are you saying? And then Rex turns to me and says, what did I say? And I'm like, I'm not gonna say dildo in front of 500 people. So my answer is going to be Scooby-Doo. So I look at the quizmaster and I'm like, is the answer Scooby-Doo? The quizmaster looks at me deadpan for a second, and then he says, brilliant answer, it is Scooby-Doo. We have no idea how this happened. But we win the quiz. And after the quiz, I'm like, Rex, why did you say it's Scooby-Doo or dildo? And Rex is like, that's not what I said. I said it's Scooby-Doo or Tintin. And he laughs the whole thing off. But that's not the end of the story. What happens is we finish this quiz. We're actually, because we won this quiz, we're supposed to go to the nationals. And for the nationals, we travel to a different city. And this time we're going to the city called Jamshedpur, where my aunt lives. And as 2 kids who are away from home, my aunt's like, let me take you out for dinner before the night of the quiz. And we go out, and Rex and I are having dinner with my aunt and my cousin, who's my age. And my aunt says, oh, you guys have been quizzing for such a long time. Have there been any funny incidents or any times where, something went awry and you guys recovered from it? And Rex, I don't know in what wisdom decides to tell the whole story. And he says, oh yeah, there was this one time when we were on stage and the guy played a song and he asked us to identify the cartoon character and we couldn't hear it and I gave her just 2 guesses and I said it's Scooby-Doo or Tintin, but her just heard Scooby-Doo or Dildo. And my aunt was smiling listening to the story, but as soon as she hears the words dildo, her eyes pop, but the smile stays on her face, and it's just super awkward now. And we spend the rest of the dinner ignoring the fact that that had happened. I went back, we go back to the hotel room, and like, Rex, why did you say dildo in front of my aunt? Do you know what this might lead to? And Rex is like, why? Did I say something bad? Like, what do you mean, did I say something bad? He said, what does dildo mean? And I said, Rex, for somebody who knows everything about everything, how do you not know what a dildo is? Quizzing gave Rex and me a lot of memories like this. Quizzing essentially gave us this quest for knowledge. It almost pushed us to be lifelong learners. And even though between me and Rex, we didn't read every Wikipedia page ever in the world, I hope that Rex has learned that next time when you talk to your best friend's aunt, you at least look up what the word dildo means. Thank you.
Oh, all right, now you've told me my favorite story about a dildo. That was great. Thanks for sharing. All right, folks, that's our show. Thank you so much for coming out, for coming to see live theater during what we hope is the tail end of a pandemic? Question mark. But we're so happy that you're here. If you had a good time tonight, please tell a friend. If you didn't, please just keep it to yourself. And again, we're back here April 7th at 7 p.m. And let's hear it one more time for all of our storytellers. We have Ophira, Grant, Tavi, Dave, and Harjas. Let's hear it for Lauren up in the booth, for Frigid New York for having us here. Thank you all so much. Have a great night.